Today we're going to be talking about my man Paul Pierce, the truth, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, certainly an all-time great for the Boston Celtics. So let's get into the content. Let's go. So for those of you who don't know, Paul Pierce was one of the greatest Boston Celtics and NBA players of all time. He played small forward and he was drafted in 1998 as his 10th overall pick by the Boston Celtics. Since selecting him to the Boston Celtics, he immediately set the league on fire simply because of the way he played, the way he handled the ball, the way he could shoot from anywhere on the court for his size. And now Paul Pierce was one of those players that was really deceptive. A lot of opponents described him as being really deceptive on the court. Now, why is that? Reason is because when he played, he looked like he was moving slow, but he was able to get to his spots. You know, people were like, Paul Pierce isn't necessarily quick, he isn't necessarily fast, but he's really effective. And that's what he was throughout his whole career. And the thing is, he would catch a lot of defenders off guard. Before you knew it, you see him drive into the paint. He wasn't really moving at breakneck speed like other players like LeBron, Kobe, and Tracy McGrady and D Wade. But before the defense could realize it, he was dunking on you. And that was one of the things that made Paul Pierce really great. He was really good at attacking the defense and attacking the paint. He was really good at finishing with contact and dunking on a lot of defenders for his size, and he had some good speed to him and quickness, but he wasn't the fastest player. Another thing that made Paul Pierce really amazing as a basketball player is his mid-range game. Paul Pierce was really good at scoring from different positions on the floor and really giving it to defenses from all around the court. And that's the reason why he ended up becoming a 10-time All-Star. But during his early years in Boston, he was doing really good individually, and he had a running mate in Antoine Walker, and they would do okay. They would make the playoffs, but they really couldn't break through that glass ceiling and really get to the top and get to the championship. So he had a lot of years where it was just him. He was a one-man show, and for a lot of those years, he was the reason a lot of Boston Celtics fans were coming to watch the Celtics play, because he was the big draw. He was the catch. He was the reason why, people would spend their money to come to the Garden and really go see the Boston Garden at the time, I believe it was, to go see the Celtics play. But, after some time, it began to get to the point where it was like, hey man, this dude is just sort of like, languishing, because he's putting up all these great numbers, averaging 25, 26 points a game every season, but he wasn't really seeing success to match all of these great numbers that he was putting up, until all of that changed in 2007, 2008, when the Boston Celtics pulled off the heist of that year by getting Kevin Garnett. Now, when they got Kevin Garnett, everybody was just like, whoa, because at that time, KG was really, really good in basketball. He was one of the best players in the world. Kevin Garnett had won an NBA MVP. He was that good, especially on the defensive end, but not just on his defense, but also because of his the commitment and the passion that he brought to the game. He was a really fierce competitor. So when they brought him in to play with Paul Pierce, people were just like, whoa, all of a sudden now he got some help. But before you knew it, just when you thought it was over, before the shoe could drop, Ray Allen came to go play with the Boston Celtics, and that's when they formed their big three. So finally, Paul Pierce had some help. And in that year, they ended up going to the NBA Finals. I think they ended up winning like 66 games that season, going to the finals and beating Kobe's Lakers in that season, and Paul Pierce ended up being the Finals MVP. And finally, he had gotten the recognition that he deserved throughout his illustrious career, because Paul, up to that point, was just a one-man show, like so many other players in the NBA at that time, like Tracy McGrady, like Allen Iverson, like so many other players in the NBA, and that's really been the history of the league for the most part. You have these really great players that play by themselves, and up until one point they get help, and that's when things really transform for them. And that was the same story with Paul Pierce. Nevertheless, Paul Pierce was still a beast. Number one, as I said, he was really good at attacking the basket. Number two, he was a killer three-point shooter. Number three, he could post you up and shoot over either shoulder, turning left or turning right. He was really good at passing the ball out of double teams and all of this stuff. And he was a really reliable clutch player. He had hit a tremendous amount of game-winning shots, in his career, and he was a fierce competitor. A lot of times when LeBron James was trying to come up, it was Paul Pierce that was blocking him a lot of those times for getting to the finals. Because remember, the Truth made it to the finals 2 times, and because he was so good of a player, that's why they call him the Truth. It was a name that he was awarded that fans gave to him, and it stuck with him over his career. So that's why Paul Pierce obviously is going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, certainly one of the greatest Boston Celtics of all time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer with his, if you look at his numbers, and then also if you look at his accomplishments in the playoffs, there's no way he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he was one of the greatest players in the history of that organization, and he brought them their last banner to make it number 17. Just think about it. The Celtics has 17 championships, and Paul Pierce is the reason why they have one of those championships. So if you're a Paul Pierce fan and you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're a Celtics fan, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know what you think about Paul Pierce and where you think his place is in the the pantheon of greats of Boston Celtics. With that being said, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro. Wishing you guys a fantastic day. Peace.